I started out as a presenter on the 6 o'clock news as a sports presenter, and I was terrible. I mean, I don't like reading the auto cue. I get bored and my mind wanders. So, like it's doing right now. But it just wasn't me. And so I was lucky to work with some legends, Angela Diordney, Tom Bradley, Richard Long, John Hawkesby, all those, so I learnt a lot from those people about presenting. But chuck a shirt and tie and a jacket on me and put a carrot up my bum and sit me in a news studio wasn't really who I was. When I started as a news presenter, I got a review from Barry Shaw, and I got a phone call at 7 o'clock in the morning from Richard Long, who was sort of my mentor, and he sort of said, "Don't read the paper." So the first thing I did was get the paper. And Barry said, it's not so much when we should get rid of Ric Salizzo off television, it's how he ever got there in the first place is the mystery. And then he went on to describe me having a face like a red rubber tyre, which it made me laugh, actually. So I spent the next sort of 30 years trying to stick it up him. I think the big thing for me was, I'd grown up, passionate supporter of the All Blacks, but I didn't really know much about them. And then because I was lucky enough to have some friends that were in the team, there was about 4 or 5 guys that I'd played rugby with or met along the way, I was able to see the environment was a bit different than I'd imagined, and there was a lot of fun, a lot of humour, a lot of characters in there. And I wanted to capture it, as a journalist or as a storyteller or whatever. And so the biggest buzz for me was actually capturing what it was like. And the players, I mean, sometimes I'd come downstairs and the crew would be gone because the players had a great idea and they'd taken the crew and started filming some of it themselves. So it was a real collaborative effort. It was like the biggest home video you've ever made. But I'm still really proud of it because I'm really proud that the good, the bad and the rugby changed the way we sort of covered sports. It was sort of got into that, it was really the start of that behind the scenes type stuff and showing sportsmen as human beings. And, nowadays that's quite normal, but back then it was just unheard of. The great thing about Sportscafe is people think it was a brilliant idea, and there was no idea at all. I mean, I'd finished working for the All Blacks as their press officer, and everyone hated me, all the media outlets, because I'd spent sort of 5 years telling them they couldn't do things. So I knew that I couldn't get a job anywhere. So I had to create a job for myself, and I had this idea of a TV show with me, John Kerwin, and Zin Zambrook, who were 2 pretty close mates, and so. And John had just gone to the Warriors, so I had the rugby league and the rugby thing covered and myself in the middle. But at the last minute, JK couldn't make the pilot, so the only other Warrior I knew was Mark Ellis. So I rang him literally the day before the pilot to see if he'd fill in. And up until that moment, it had been a relatively serious show. And then we did the pilot with Macca, and it was just not serious at all. We got Lana on board because Mark fancied it and wanted to see what she was like as a person. So we asked Lana to join us. We did set out to have a female role within the show to broaden the appeal. I mean, if 50% of your audience is female roughly, then, why not have an advocate for their view, which seemed pretty normal. And Macca is not really into sports either, even though he was an All Black and a Kiwi, and Mark wasn't really a sports fanatic. He was more involved with nudity and climbing things than he was with worrying about what the score was in 1983. So I think that really helped broaden the appeal and brought us a wider audience. We actually talked about that during the show. So we're doing our final show, and Mark said during an ad break, we should destroy the set because we're not going to use it anymore. And I said, well, yeah, but I wouldn't mind keeping some of it. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. And then when we got to the end, someone pulled an axe out of nowhere. So obviously someone had thought it through. And it's one of my favourite moments of the show, and a billion shows that we did, that I'm trying to keep a straight face and be really calm and emotional because we're wrapping up the show that we've been doing for 10 years or so. Meanwhile, there's a lunatic wearing a police uniform wielding an axe destroying the set around me. And I thought that's a really nice summary of who we are. And I love that moment. And you've got the exponent singing, you know, why does love do this to me? And it's just yeah, I enjoyed it. It's my favourite moment. I still haven't got the courage to watch Sugar Shack. Sugar Shack was so important to me as a TV maker. One is I learnt a lot about, you know, there was a case of doing the opposite of what I did with Sportscafe, is grabbing an idea and trying to fit people around it. The initial suggestion of a program turned into me trying to create something completely different, which was Sugar Shack. And it was terrible. But it certainly gave me a good dose of humility. It certainly taught me that, you know, if you'd had a show that had been really successful for, you know, 10, 12 years, whatever Sportscafe was, didn't matter, because that wasn't going to mean that people would necessarily watch past the first episode of the next show. So, yeah, it was a really good learning, a real good kick in the pants for me. It really stopped me getting my head too far up my backside, and realised, you know, because at that stage I'd had a few successes. You know, we had the videos, we did the Matthew Ridge documentary, you know, Sportscafe, everything seemed to work. And then I stopped with Sugar Shack. So that was invaluable. I think everyone needs something like that. I describe it as, if you're watching the news, the grown-up news, and they cut to a track and there's a guy wearing an incredibly loud paisley shirt and he's telling you this important thing about the budget. Everyone in the lounge is just going, my God, look at his shirt. And then they come back to the newsreader and he goes straight on from just going, thank you very much, and keeps on moving. And my idea was to create a show where the presenters went, my God, did you not see his shirt? That was the basic idea, was to relate to the news items or in the same way as I did in the lounge. So I think the humour and the style's similar because it's me. That's all I do. I'm a one-trick pony. That's all I can do is get involved with shows that take the piss. But what's cool is all the various people that work on it bring their own senses of humour and their own chemistries and their own ideas to it. So it might start with a base from me, but then they add to it and just take it someplace that I'd never thought of. Personally, I've had a pretty tough couple of years, and I lost my beautiful wife Kathy, and you know, that sort of puts work into perspective. You know, I've had to reevaluate a lot of things. I just want to tell good stories, you know, and about things that I'm passionate about. So, you know, I'm just starting now. I'm just starting to think, okay, where to from here? I mean, I love Crowd Goes Wild. It's one of the best shows I've ever been involved in. It's so much fun and it's such a great group of people. And long may it continue.